Facing up is a way of life that helps hurting people move through their pain to find meaningful, authentic existence. 2 weeks ago, we looked at Inyarus, We Are Lost, and we talked about wonder and adventure. And also how this this way of life, this first movement, meets our need, this fundamental human need for meaning. Last week, we talked about vanitas, the fact that we can't ever get to the happy ending, and the response to that was acceptance and play. And that meets our human need for motivation. Like, why go on? Well, because I accept this moment, I accept this day, and I choose to enter into it, to engage with it in a playful manner. Not with the idea that I'm like this, everything depends on me achieving some certain outcome. Caring about the outcomes, doing things that are meaningful for me, striving, but not with strife, not with inner struggle. So, vanitas and acceptance and play. This week, we come to the third specter. And this really deals with our need as human beings to belong. And that's very deep within us. We want to be accepted. It's like so deep within us. Have you ever wondered why public speaking is so terrifying to most people? I mean, people will put it right up there when they rank their greatest fears. Some of them will put public speaking over death. They would rather face death than have to stand in front of a crowd. And here's why. Because we want to belong. And when you're in front of a crowd of sapiens, and you know that their acceptance of you, if you say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, look like a fool, you could be rejected by a whole group of people. And that much rejection is terrifying. We really want to belong. Rapax was the hardest specter, I won't say was, is the hardest specter for me to face. And you've seen and heard some of my podcasts as I'm, working through this, and I still don't have it spelled out as cleanly as I want to. I think some things are coming more into focus, but I'd say I'm still working on this one. But I'm also convinced that of all the things that blew my life apart, it wasn't so much the belief system. I think I would have cobbled it into shape and been able to make it work. I think I could have also sort of just said, well, it'll be okay when I die. I could have lived with the hope of heaven. But it was that sense of just stress and frustration and conflict with other people that really drove me to the edge. And it was the feeling that God was not, doing what God was supposed to do. And people really, they said nice stuff and many did nice stuff. But when it came right down to it, the only one looking out for me was me. And that was just such a hard thing to face. And, I go into that in more detail in the story of my fall, if you want to listen to the whole breakdown of that. But, it really, truly is love that fell apart on me. And by the way, I use that word love cautiously. I will do a video in the near future about faith, hope, and love. These three words are way too broad and ambiguous. And you'll notice I'm going to stop trying to even use them. But I mean, I get the realms that they work in. Faith is how we deal with Inyarus. Hope is how we deal with Vanitas. Love is the word we use to sort of describe this whole realm of dealing with Rapax. But the words themselves are so broad in their range of meaning that they're really not that useful as tools to describe how we respond. So, without getting too deep in the weeds on that, love is a mess. And so we'll leave that word aside for the day. And I just want to face honestly the fact that we live in a world where you got to look out for yourself. There are people who care about you, who love you. I mean, I'll use that word. They do care about you. Um, but you'll find that there are many ways to be disillusioned by that love. You'll find that that love is always conditional. I mean, it wouldn't be love if it was unconditional. It would be sort of pity or something. And I don't want your pity. I want you to love me. I want you to desire me. I want you to look at me and say, you have value. If you tell me I love you unconditionally, you're saying you're a piece of shit and I love you. Well, thanks, but I don't want to be a piece of shit. And it doesn't make me feel better that you're such a magnificent person that you love a piece of shit like me. That's just not satisfying. So anyway, we're going to face honestly this rapax, this idea that there is predation in the world, that the world is not based upon all giving, that there's a lot of take going on in this world. So let's take a look at it more closely. Like all of the movements, the third movement begins with facing up to this hard fact. We have a need as human beings to belong. We want to belong. We want to connect. We want to be a part. But we live in a dog-eat-dog world. There's predation drives things. The world is not built on everything giving to everything else. Everything is trying as hard as it can to live, and to do that, everything has to somehow take something from the things around it. And so there's this rapax, the word rape or predation. And we feel this. We understand that there are people in our lives who care about us. But, as I say in the world of fundraising, which I have to do a lot of for work, but, they say, there's a saying, people do the things for their reasons, not yours. I mean, that's a pretty good statement about life and about everything that everybody does. They do it for their reasons, not yours. We all are driven by, we always choose what we think to be in our own best interest. Even if what we choose is to be kind or to lay our life down, we're not doing that because we think it's bad for us. We think that's the better choice. We always choose what we think is best. Well, as I've shared in detail, as I tell the story of my life kind of unraveling at church, it was such a shock to realize that God was not really looking out for me. And that the people of church, while they were, they were good people, they were like everybody else, but nobody was going to watch out for me. Nobody just automatically took a huge interest and tried to make sure that I was content. It was kind of on me to make sure that I got raises, for example, which I never did because I thought that was wrong. I didn't think I was supposed to ask for those sorts of things. That just seemed to me to be selfish, and I didn't want to be selfish. I wanted to be unselfish. I wanted to be this fountain of goodness. And the problem is that I'm not a fountain. I'm enmeshed in life with a whole bunch of other Homo sapiens and animals and microorganisms and all kinds of things that are working and competing, and each one trying to grow and thrive and be itself. But nobody's trying to do that for me. I have to do it for me. And that was just, when I realized that, it was just such a lonely feeling. And when you really see that, you feel this deep alienation. And wow, when I went into my darkness, it's hard for me to even describe how much that hurt, because I just felt like nobody cares. They did. I mean, people did care. So it's not fair to say nobody cared, but they did care about me, but for their reasons. So the reason they cared is because, I had provided this foundation. I was this friend. I met a need in their life, right? And so when I stopped meeting that need, they cared, but they cared because they wanted me back. They wanted me to be back in their world and to be meeting that need of friendship and all the things that I brought to the table. But when it came to just like being in it for me, well, no. I mean, nobody's like that. And so I just felt so alienated. There were times I felt even alienated from my family, from my wife. I just began to see how, wow, everybody kind of, if I don't bring my gift to the table, if I show up grumpy or, without anything to offer, people will put up with that for a little while, but not forever. Everybody wants something from me, and let's be honest, I want something from everyone else. So, just makes you want to like shove everybody away and treat people with hostility. And as you're treating people with hostility, you feel this loneliness and alienation, and around you go in this cycle right here. The realization, the door that opened when I faced Rothbach squarely, was that I didn't have to choose to reject people. I could treat people with compassion. Now, this is not, I had to be honest with myself, this is not because I was a good person. Like, this is bad people over here on the left and good people over here on the compassion side. No, I had to understand that compassion was the best way that I could fulfill my need to belong, to connect. There was just like this freedom in no longer judging people. I have a little note that I wrote on a Post-it. It's by my chair right now. It says, "Remember who the real enemy is. No one." And I love that. Remember who the real enemy is. No one. We're all in this together. Every one of us is cursed with teeth and appetite, and this curse, if you want to call it that, but this fact that we are pitted against each other for survival in this world, we're all in that boat. Now, I can just be predatory, I can attack you, I can devour you, but that's not very satisfying. That would be like the Montgomery Burns, there we go, Montgomery Burns approach, or Daniel Plainview and There Will Be Blood. It's just like, okay, this Ayn Rand, right? It's just like, okay, let's just be predators. That's very empty. Compassion is a way of living that opens my heart to other people, not because they're good, not because they meet a need, but just because it feels good to open my heart to other people and connect. It meets this need for belonging, and it allows me to face the whole world as like me. We're all in the same boat. So I can treat people with kindness. That does not change the fact that we have to face Rothbachs. But when I face Rothbachs, I choose compassion and kindness. Rothbachs, compassion, kindness. Some of the contrasts here. When I was a Christian, I tried so hard to come up with a Christianity that like embraced everybody. And I just couldn't, because when it came right down to it, if people weren't Christians, they needed to become Christians, or they weren't really part of my tribe. And some people who weren't Christians were hostile to Christianity, so these were like enemies. So as much as I tried, I was stuck with my tribe. But when I chose compassion and kindness, we're all the same. Now, I may disagree with people, I may even have to oppose them, but I don't have to hate. I don't have to reject or alienate myself. I just refuse to go along because that's just not compassionate and kind, and I choose compassion and kindness. Over here on the alienation side, you're rejecting people. On the compassion and kindness side, what you reject is not people, but dogma. I don't reject people because we're all the same. On what grounds would I judge anyone? But I do reject dogma. Anyone who says you have to believe this or behave this way, because that to me is a fundamental rejection of my personality, my very life. So like you may have some story about life and you may choose to make that your reality, capital R. And you may choose to try to shove me into your story and your reality. I can't. I won't. I reject that dogma because I'm not living in anyone's dogma, not even my own. I want to live in the real world. So I reject dogma. But I don't reject the people who are espousing the dogma. I get it. I understand why they're doing it. I did it for the major part of my life. And my hope would be just to help people, curb their dogma, to loosen their grip on those things. Over here in the alienation and hostility side, trying to convert people. Over here in the compassion and kindness, I don't need to convert people. Let people be who they are and harmonize with them. On the alienation and hostility side, I'm looking at what I can get from people. On the compassion and kindness side, I'm looking for what I can give. And the joy really is in the giving. And it doesn't matter if they bring anything to the table or not. It just feels good to extend my compassion to them, to treat them with kindness. My world gets bigger. My heart gets bigger. It's a win. It's a win-win because they win too. Also, in the alienation and hostility side here, I'm filled with self-righteousness because, like my tribe is right. I'm standing up for the truth. And boy, do you hear a lot of that in political discourse these days about, there's just so much self-righteousness. It's almost sickening. But over here, I'm non-judgmental because I'm not trying to say who's good or bad. I'm just choosing compassion and kindness. Again, not because I'm good, but because they are good. Because I'm self-righteous over here in the hostility and alienation side, I'm critical. I'm condemning of other people. It's condemnation. In the compassion and kindness zone, I can live a life of forgiveness. And to contrast two people in this movement, I would point, as I already have, to Montgomery Burns on The Simpsons, the shriveled up man up on the hill who owns the nuclear power plant, who looks very much like a mosquito, and the way they drew him. It's so interesting. But nobody envies Montgomery Burns. He's alienated, and he's, kind of got this hostility to everyone else, but he's purely in it for himself, and his world has shrunk. Even though he has all this money and all this wealth, he's a very, very small person. On the alternate side of that would be Mother Teresa, compassion and kindness. Has very little, dedicates her life to working with lepers in Calcutta, and her soul is just huge, and the joy in her heart is huge, just because compassion and kindness are deeply fulfilling. So again, it's not that compassion and kindness defeat Rapax. You can almost say they are a way to fulfill, or really, like you're not denying that you are also a creature with needs who has to eat. You're just saying, what I choose to eat is compassion and kindness because it's so much better than breaking into tribes and alienating and treating people with hostility. I practice compassion and kindness. I try to sink them in on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. You're lonely. You can escape alienation and treat your enemies with hostility, or you can choose compassion and practice kindness. So once again, we come down to internalizing this. What I'm trying to do is reprogram myself. The Bible has a verse about that says something about be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's kind of like that. It's like reprogramming my automatic response. When I face this Rapax, and it's so many forms it could come as just a sharp word from my wife that just rubs me the wrong way. It could be the guy in the tire store who charges me more than I think is right. It could be the person who just won't return my phone call. But anyway, I'm feeling this rejection from somebody, or maybe I'm just out in the woods and I'm like, it's like, doesn't nature care about me? Why are there mosquitoes flying all around my head? Rapax comes in many forms, but we all feel it. And so when we encounter Rapax, what do? Well, the natural response, the understandable human response, if our lives are based on our story, we feel alienated and we get angry. We respond with hostility. Alienation, hostility. Alienation, hostility. Rapax. Alienation, hostility. And so we kind of like, we jockey and we maneuver and we try to sort of wind our way into people's good grace. But at the core, this is not satisfying. Put it this way, the way that Rapax makes a door to a deep and meaningful existence, the way that Rapax opened a door to my one human family, was through compassion and kindness. And so it goes like this. I am at the pause where I am out of breath. Rapax. Compassion. Kindness. Compassion. Kindness. And that is an existential choice. It's not because of anything. It's in the face of Rapax. It's not a way around Rapax. It's just saying, in the face of this fact of my world, I choose compassion because it is so much more fulfilling, so much more desirable to me. It's not because I'm a wonderful, good person. I've made this point before, but I don't choose compassion because I am good, but because it is good. Compassion is so much more satisfying. So when I look at, take the wife who gives me that jab, I can respond with alienation and hostility. And that, we all know where that goes. But I can just step back and go, compassion. I get it. She got stepped on. She got hurt. There's something going on in her. And I'm like that too. We're all like that. We're all in the same boat. Our common curse is our truest bond, compassion. Kindness. How will I respond with kindness to that barb? And hey, might as well apply this to ourselves too, because sometimes we're kind of mean to ourselves. We treat ourselves with cruelty. We are like, we'll devour ourselves over something we forgot to do, or some perceived, I'm too fat, or I'm too old, or I'm too stupid, or I'm whatever, we'll just like start, devouring ourselves. I practice this on myself too. It's just compassion, kindness to myself as well as to other people. So I invite you to practice the three movements, to make them part of your life. And again, I set a timer every morning, and my schedule, and you can see it in the video as I printed this out, but I just, I cycle through one a day. So I go first movement Monday, second movement Tuesday, third movement Wednesday. And then I do it again. First movement Thursday, second movement Friday, third movement Saturday. And then on Sunday, I just sit back and I do it all. And I have more time on Sunday, so sometimes I'll even, set a timer for longer and just kind of cycle through. So I will do the breathing exercise, but I would just to demonstrate, I would be like Inyarus, wonder, adventure, vanitas, acceptance, play, rapax, compassion, kindness. And I'll just cycle through and just think of all of them. And as I'm doing that, sometimes in fact, many times, things will bubble up in my life. Sometimes connections will be made about these things. I'll have new insight about what it means to be compassionate or whatever, to be accepting, to play, or whatever it is. And so that's how I fill up a gazillion of these, like I will just start journaling about these things that are so meaningful. So I hope that, as I said 3 weeks ago, that this is beginning to show the way. I know this sounds cocky, but I feel like I've put in the time to be able to say this. I didn't just wake up yesterday with an idea. I have been searching for 7 years to work through this darkness, and I don't know if I know the way, but I know a way. And I know a way to face this darkness in its 3 forms, Inyarus, Vanitas, Rapax. And I've been going the way. I don't just see this. I've been doing this for the last 5 years. And I am at a point where I am ready to share this. And I'm hoping that some of you will find this really useful. Because facing up is a way of life to help hurting people move through their pain and discover meaningful, authentic existence.